Good morning, everyone. We'll go ahead and get started with Coach Traylor. JJ.
Jeff, what's just your review of this game against FIU?
Defensively, we were really good. It's as good as we played. Tied a school record for most TFLs in a game. Offensively, I thought we were probably average at best. I was really proud of our offensive line again. A lot of changes up there, but just some mistakes, that I just felt like we weren't as clean as we have been. Really proud of how we ran the football. Kevorian Barnes. Good to see Dan Dishman make a really big play after not making a play the week before. Really proud of Walker Beatty, how he stepped up at left tackle. Frankie continues to battle out there. We can't take it for granted, the play of those three guys in the middle. KD and T. Haynes and Mock have been steady all year. But we just weren't as clean. Special teams wise, we just weren't clean there either. And but whenever you go on the road, tough environment. They had that place rocking. Wasn't a lot of fans there. They just had a really, really loud system in there. We could hardly communicate, and got out there with a win in a tough environment.
Greg.
Jeff, when you looked back at it, what jumped out about Walker Beatty's play and how he performed in his first start at left tackle?
How limited his MAs were. We knew he'd be talented. He's a really good athlete. We were just worried about Coach McIntyre does a really good job coaching defense. They've got good pressures. He wasn't wrong much the entire night. We're really, really proud of him for jumping in there. We've been working him at guard and worked him. He had to move him to tackle just because of the rash of injuries we've had.
Can you take us inside what that conversation was like when you first decided to move him to the offensive line? Where did the idea come from? Was it you or somebody else on the staff, and how he reacted? No,
I'd always been talking to him about it forever because I knew he could be really special at it. And it's just, we just got to the point we were out of people, and he just knew in order for us to have a chance to have a good season, we're going to have some help. And he's raised by good people, and he did what was best for the team. I really think he's having a great time now. He's gotten more attention this week than he has this whole time here with me.
Is it safe to say he's over there for good now, or could you see him moving back to the defensive line group once the numbers get right?
He's so talented. It just depends on where we need him. But those left tackles are pretty hard to find. There's some really good offensive linemen right now that used to be tight ends, that used to be defensive tackles. So we're going to do our best to keep him right where he is.
Back to you, JJ.
Jeff, what's the status of your offensive line health this week?
I'd say that those guys are just like they were last week. They're day-to-day decisions, and we hope we have some. If we don't, we'll just roll with the guys we've been playing with. The harder you try to get Frankie out of the lineup, the more he stays in it, man. You can't get him, man. He's a tough kid.
How has that impacted the offense overall? You guys are still putting up big numbers, but it seems like you guys had to adjust some of the schemes. Is that accurate?
Yeah, just the continuity. We're just different. The way we're having to play football right now, it's just different. We haven't been able to drop back and throw the ball very much. We did last week. We missed a post. One of the few times this year we've just protected and got back there. Way more RPO driven, way more quick game driven. And unfortunately, we've been doing this 7 games now, right? So the other guys know it too. So we've got to change some stuff up. Those other guys get paid to coach as well. They like to feed their families and keep their lights on too.
Greg.
Jeff, how about some of the injuries around the roster, non-offensive line? How are you looking at running back and some of these other positions where you've been banged up? Do you expect to get some guys back this week?
We'll practice tomorrow. We'll know more. It's just day to day. We've played 7 games in a row without a bye. So I can promise you, any team in the country that's played 7 games in a row is going through what we are. Maybe not losing 3 running backs in the spring, and now you've lost 2 more running backs, so they're banged up. That's a little extreme. 5 offensive tackles, that's pretty extreme. But the rest of it is pretty normal for this time of year. It tends to come in the same spot. It's always weird how that happens. Our first year was 4 quarterbacks. And this year it's offensive tackles, and spring it was running backs. It's kind of just weird how that happens.
Is there any benefit to you and the guys of knowing that week off is coming after this game? Is there any mentality that if you can push through this one, then there's a light at the end of the tunnel kind of thing?
If the team we're playing wasn't so good, I'd say so, but we're playing the 6th ranked rushing offense in the country. The 3 teams that are in front of them, there's 5 in front, but 3 of them are the military schools. We've already played one of those, unfortunately. And then you got Ole Miss and Central Florida. They're the 2nd in the country, 5.8 yards a carry. So they've got 4 running backs that they're really, really good. They're very well coached. They're just a good football team. They're going to be hard to stop. We're going to need that Alamo Dome to be 35,000 minimum. And we're going to need Sosa, the cheerleaders, every kind of music speaker we can have blasting in the Alamo Dome until that ball snaps. We don't want to break any rules, but until then, that thing needs to be just rocking.
What is it about that running game that they've had so much success? Do they scheme it up differently from a lot of people, or what challenges does that present you guys?
They scheme it as good as anybody in the country. They've got 4 backs that are as good as anybody. So it's both. I have a lot of respect for those guys who've been doing it, known for a long time, talked ball with them many, many hours. They're good football coaches. And it always helps when you're handing it off to 4 really good running backs too.
How do you use last year's matchup as you look ahead to this one? Is that something you can use as a point of motivation to light a fire under the guys, or do you not look at that one? How do you talk about it?
It is what it is. If I got to say much about that, we don't have the competitors on my team that I think we've got. So I don't imagine I'm going to have to say much. They kicked our tails, and everybody knows they did.
Do you sense already that the group is a little bit more fired up about that, wanting this to be a revenge game for them?
I sense we're 3-0 and they're 3-0, and it's 2 really good football teams about to play each other. I don't think that's going to matter. If we'd have won last year, they would have won. I don't think it's going to matter this game because both teams are 3-0, right? That brings enough of its own significance into play. I don't think that's going to have any bearing from last season, except we know they kicked our tails.
Looking at the game against FIU again, we saw Trey Moore came through with a couple sacks in that one. What jumped out to you about his play?
His continual growth, his improvement, his hunger for the ball, his hunger for greatness. He's just a winner, man. I know Larry Hill and Smithson Valley, those guys are proud of him. They should be.
What are some of those ways he's improved from the start of the season till now, obviously getting some reps under his belt?
Oh, just his awareness of formation, tendencies, offensive tackle stances, his pass rush moves have gotten better. His pressures, he's just quicker on the pressures and just getting them to the ground. So he's continued to improve. He'll be a real force before he graduates from here.
Have you guys approached rushing the passer any differently with somebody like that who's kind of new to the spotlight compared to last year when you guys had, Clarence Hicks and Charles Wiley, who you knew could create pressure on their own?
We're still running the same pressures. It's just we're not getting home as much. It's not like you just told Clarence and Chuck to go sack the quarterback. There's still a call up there, and they're still executing a stunt. So same pressures, just, we are obviously missing some of those great defensive players, but our guys are getting better at it. We didn't rave about Chuck and Clarence their first year doing this. They were kind of like these guys are, learning their way. And I have a feeling when that whole defensive line group is back next year, these questions will be a little different about quarterback being sacked probably.
JJ?
Jeff, it seemed like Nick Booker Brown had a big game. What was your impression of how he played?
Yeah, he was just better than the guys blocking him. And that always makes you a much better coach when your guys are better than the other guys. And Booker was better. And he won a battle he should have won, and he did.
It's pretty interesting that his story, he's a walk-on for you guys this year. And what does it mean for him to be able to come in and be so significant, have an impact to the team?
Yeah, we knew his high school coach real well. Coach Bloom has been a mentor for him, and he just thought the kid needed another chance and thought we'd be the group to do that for him. And kid's come in here and done really well, and happy for him. And it's good to see him show up Friday night.
Where do you think your depth is at on the defensive line there? I mean, it's kind of the same in like the other positions you're banged up.
I don't think we're as bad. You know, what hurts is you lost probably your best defensive lineman. You know, that's what makes it so significant. We hope to get Joe Evans back pretty quick. You know, Chase is coming around. He's getting more healthy. So we moved Jamori down there. And so we're that move with Jamori is going to help us, we feel like, get some more depth back in there. We like to rotate those kids, you know, and we like to be deep. We play so hard on defense. And that's a spot where you've got to be really deep to be great, especially in an odd front. So, because that's Sam position, that will, all you got to do is send the pressure one way, and now your Sam's a defensive lineman, or you send the pressure the other way, now your Will's a defensive lineman. So you got to keep some guys fresh up there because they're taking a lot of hits.
Greg?
Jeff, you were just talking about Nick Booker-Brown. I was curious when you guys really identified him, because if I saw it right, I think you spent like a whole year in the transfer portal.
Yeah, I'm not for sure how long he'd been in the portal. I know Coach Bloom reached out to us, and then when we hit him up, and he wanted to get closer to home. He's from Houston, and so we went after him. So I'm not for sure the exact timetable or why he was in there or when he was in there, honestly.
And you did in this game, you got a chance to see a lot of the young guys for some reps in the fourth quarter there once the game kind of got out of hand. Is there anybody who stood out with that opportunity or caught your eye?
Caleb Lewis, you know, Kyle Wakefield always stands out. Ty Leonard, those guys, they played well. Zay Frazier was physical. And so as it was Xavier player, Javon Devon, I mean, those guys are, I told them, I said, look, now I signed a 10-year contract. This fourth quarter is really important because you guys are my future. So we're going to be here a minute together. So I want to see you guys make some plays. And they did.
It seems like a lot of years in the past, we were always talking about Frank Harris's health, and it hasn't been a talking point as much this year. You know, how do you feel about where he stands physically, how he's holding up to the grind of a season?
What is that scene from Ricky Bobby? Like, why you want to, whatever that scene is right now, don't be bringing that bad karma in here, Greg. What are we doing right now, man?
I think it's don't put that evil on me.
There you go, something like that. You know, he does a great job taking care of his body. We were very intentional in not running very much last week. You know, I hated he took the hit right before halftime on the Hail Mary. I kind of wish I had that one back, honestly, but I wanted to work the play. We're going to be in a bunch of close games this year, and we need to work that. So that's really the only hit he took. He ran quarterback draw once. He took a little bit of a shot. So he usually gets hit 15 times in the game. So he only got hit twice last week. So that was a way better improvement. He takes care of his body. He's strong, and we've been lucky. I mean, you got to, I mean, some of that's just pure luck. And I just love the kid, and I hope he can stay healthy. He's such a good kid. He loves his team and his city so much. He's just an easy kid to root for.
I think you mentioned after the game there was only a couple throws you felt like he missed. Did his performance hold up when you looked at it on film review?
Oh yeah, he's really good. You know, he's a good football player, and it's just so nice that I know where he's come from and what he's been through, and I'm happy for the kid. And as long as we got him back there, we got a real chance. And I was very pleased with Eddie Lee. I mean, the ball slipped out of his hand that one time, but when the kid comes out there and makes plays, he can't help it that receivers drop it. I mean, and that's a tough ball to throw that night. You were there. It was humid. It was swampy. It was like being back in East Texas and Houston all at once on the worst day. And it was just yuck. And I was proud of Eddie Lee. He went out there and battled. He got better in that game.
JJ?
Jeff, how big was Kevorian Barnes' performance, considering it seems like your two other backs are kind of banged up?
huge. I mean, it was time for him to come on. He did. And I thought that was one of the biggest things of the game was his performance, Dan Dishman's performance. You're talking about really young guys. They're going to be, mainstays for us in the next 3 years. Walker Beatty at left tackle. You're looking at 3 people we just named that had the potential to start for Dan and Walker for 3 years and Kevorian for 4. So that's a good feeling when you're a coach that knows we want to continue to be great for years to come.
I was watching the game on TV, so it's kind of hard to follow. Did Traylon Smith play in the beginning, or was he a game time scratch, or what was that all about?
He played about 3 snaps, and Kevorian got going, and we felt like Kevorian was going to be able to go for a while. So we were just trying to get B. Brady and Traylon Smith to the next game because we know the bye week's coming, and we know how good North Texas is. This one's going to be an absolute, barn burner Saturday. So we got to have all hands on deck, and we were just trying to be smart. And he was ready. He was ready. He'd earned his time.
Greg?
Jeff, you talked about the run game with North Texas, but is there anything that stands out about them on the defensive side that you guys have to be looking out for?
Back to the run game. I mean, what helps their defense is they rushed for 475 yards last week. I mean, not 275, not 375, 475 is still a record. I mean, wrap your mind around that just for a little while. So that helps their defense. I think it starts their middle linebacker. I think he's number one is as good of my backers we've been against. 44 is a really good defensive end. 21 kid right from Converse Judson, linebacker plays his tail off. Really impressed. Phil Bennett's been doing this forever. He's from East Texas. He's from Marshall. So I've been a huge fan of Phil's forever. And his kids play just like him. They're wild and they run around and knock the fire out of you. And as a really good hire that Seth made by getting Phil in there to take care of his defense. And he's done a fantastic job. Those kids, you can tell they're well coached and they run to the ball and they play hard.
Anything else for Coach Traylor? All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Jeff.
Appreciate you. God bless. Birds up.